Hi everyone, Sean here for theworldcupnow.com, bringing you your Barclays Fantasy Premier League tips for Game Week 23. And today, simply what I'm going to do is I'm just going to walk you through my wildcard team briefly, why I chose who I chose, who my alternates are in case if people aren't playing, and why I chose the formation, why I did. This goes further in along with the post that I have on my website that you can see in the link below. And we'll go from there. So I'll just switch the screen and I'll talk you through it. Okay, so I'm just here on my laptop, and one thing I wanted to discuss, because I spoke about it in an earlier video, was about team value. Team value in terms of your current value is only important when you need to purchase or transfer someone in. Aside from that, if you can get who you want, then it doesn't matter. So that leads me to say that if you have a high team value, you're going to have a good team. And that's why you should always try and be on the leading front or the leading edge of player price increases. Even if that player isn't someone you're going to have in your team, the fact that their price is increasing is going to allow you more versatility in your lineup moving further, and you can capitalize on that and use it to your advantage. Now, the reason why I say that is because I'm just going to kind of focus in on here, and you can see that my value going into the wildcard week was 106.8.1 in the bank. So almost 107. I think at one point I was at like 107.1. But what happens though, and this is completely foreseeable and it's nothing that you should worry about, is that when you finally cash in on those players that you've made money on, your team value as a whole, so that team value that you see under transfer history, will come down because you're not going to have that accumulated profit. You're going to go back to that value of the person who you just purchased. So, in the case of Juan Mata, if I just switch over here and go into my team, I had to get rid of Coleman, who's injured, and I also got rid of Mertesacker. Both who I had bought, Coleman I had bought at 5.5, and Mertesacker I think was in and around the same price. But I had acquired quite a team value just based on those two guys. And having sold them to switch up my formation and my team so I could bring in other players who I feel are going to excel in the last half of the season, my team value, as you can see here, if we scroll down, is now 105.9. Now there is some pending price increases that are going to go through this evening, in particular with Aguero and Juan Mata. That being said, don't always worry about your team value after you've finally purchased who you want, because it becomes irrelevant at that point. What you should be caring about is just when you want to get someone, try and get up your team value as much as you can. And that's why wildcards are very beneficial. Now, as you can see in my formation, moving on, I have moved to a 3-5-2. The reason being is that I feel that there's going to be, like I said in the Juan Mata video, is that there's going to be more differential in the midfield. Everyone's front line, typically right now, is going to be Aguero, Suarez, and some third striker. Now with Rooney and RVP allegedly being better now, that will present an option because moving forward we're going to have a double game week with both Manchester City and Manchester United. So we'll be looking at players like that moving forward, but I may switch the formation back to a 3-4-3 to take advantage of the double game weeks. Now right now I feel that the front line with everybody is going to be the same. Same with your defenders, which are typically at the moment Baines, Coleman, Mertesacker, and Terry. Those four are present on a lot of teams, and to a lesser extent Koscielny, who I have on my team, is also. And a lot of people are transitioning from Mertesacker to Koscielny to free up that 0.5 amount of funds, or however many funds you accrued over that period, to diversify your team. One thing that I did consider moving into the wildcard week was goalkeeper rotation. I was thinking about doing a Speroni and Manon from Sunderland rotation, but I've opted not to do that just because I'm just going to keep it simple, and I want to take advantage of any away clean sheets that I can get. Now I may rotate my defenders. As you can see, I do have Walker on the Spurs, who's valued at 6.1, so to have a defender at 6.1 on the bench is really only going to be in this circumstance when they're playing really heavy-hitting Manchester City. The fact that I don't believe less than 2 goals are going to be scored in that game, that's why I have Gabs on Crystal Palace on the field right now. Now, talking through my players, moving on from Speroni, my defensive line, Gabs on Crystal Palace has been getting bonuses, and Crystal Palace have really turned the corner in terms of their defensive capabilities and keeping clean sheets. So a Crystal Palace defender offers good value because they're not that expensive, and you still have a fairly high possibility of clean sheets. Now moving on to Koscielny. As I said, it was a natural move to go from Mertesacker to him to free up some funds, as a lot of managers have been doing. So it's a fairly straightforward swap. It is down in terms of price. The opportunities for a top 4 defender, or top 4 team defender, valued at 5 and 5.6 at the time of recording this, one that you should take advantage of. Moving on with Chelsea, I do have Cahill. I was looking at Terry due to my midfield, and that's where the allotment, that's where the majority of my funds are spent. I've decided to go for a cheaper intro into that team because I do feel that Chelsea in the back half of the season, with the signing of Matic, that they're going to have a lot more clean sheets, and they're going to be a little bit more defensively sound. So that is one team that I wanted to make sure that I had a defender on. He might not play all the time because he does rotate. I believe I checked out his stats. He had about 4 games this season that he didn't play. And that's fine because I do have a good bench, and a good bench is what you're going to have to rely on moving forward, because we're having double game weeks and we're having games rescheduled. So your bench has got to be players that play. This is where you're going to get hurt. So on a wild card, you have to make sure you're picking up players. You got to have players that are picking up minutes, 60 at least, and getting 2 points, regardless of what team they play for. You don't want to have someone coming off the bench because someone was rested and you don't have a bench. That's where you're going to lose. You can't. To me, that's a silly error. You can't have points slip away from you like that. Yellow cards you can't control. Red cards you can't control. However many goals are scored against a defender you can't control. But what you can control is whether your bench is full of people who are playing. To that extent, and carrying on with my defenders, I do have Walker, so he's obviously going to be one of my starters, but not this week. So basically, swap out Gab and Walker, and that'll be my moving forward starting 11. So Walker, again, after City are going to have a good run of fixtures for a little bit, so I'll just plug them in, let them go, see how many points we can get. With Vertonghen coming back as well, they're also going to be a little bit more defensively sound as well. I was looking at getting Vertonghen too because he has the offensive capabilities, but that's not what I'm going for. I'm going for midfield offensive capabilities, not defense. Walker does have some offensive threat, which is good, and I was glad that I could get that in his price bracket. So that's why he's on my team as well. Now sticking with the defense, you can see on my third bench player, I have Fabio from United, or he's showing in United, but both he and Zaha are going over to Cardiff. Fabio, technically I'm not very familiar with his skills. He doesn't really have a good history, but moving from a team like United and stepping down to a team like Cardiff, I just really want to give him a chance to see how he can do when he's actually given minutes to play. And I can easily swap him out for a Turner on Cardiff or someone else. I also had Collins on West Ham as well. So he's very interchangeable, but I just wanted to give him a shot. And I know this week he won't be playing, but I'm not too worried about Walker and Shamak not playing in case, I have any other no-shows on the team sheet. And I can still adjust that too coming up. Now, going through my midfield, I have Mata, who I am thinking is going to start against Cardiff. And the fact that Rooney and RVP were in training bodes well. And, I think really a statement has to be made. And I think Juan Mata wants to make a statement in his first game. And that's where you want to kind of take advantage of that by having him in your team, because he's going to be trying to seize those opportunities that are presented to him. So that'll yield some points to you as a fantasy manager. AJ or Adam Johnson on Sunderland. Peak form in the past 2 games. I think he's got 33 points in the last 2 alone. Hat-trick and assist in 1 game, and then I think a goal and assist in the last game. So form-wise, he is on. Price-wise, he's a little bit cheaper, but I want to give him a chance. They do have some good run of fixtures. Their next 3 fixtures are going to be fairly easy, lower to mid-table teams. So I want to give him that 3 game week run, see how he does, and then we'll move on from there. With Cabaye, there's speculation, and it's very strong speculation, that he is going to be going to PSG. Now, does that mean he's not going to play tomorrow? And I just want to make sure that it is tomorrow that they play. Yes, tomorrow. So, is he going to play tomorrow? I'm not sure. Alan Pardew not really saying much, but at his price bracket, which is 7.1 or 7.2, he's a direct swap for Ramsey. So when the team sheets come out tomorrow, I can easily just plug and play him, whether he's going to play or not. Now I'll give him the chance, and if he is playing, I'll play him, because Norwich bleed goals, and who else better to have than Cabaye, and then wait for Ramsey to hit form and maybe pick him up for the weekend. Hazard, obvious choice, number 1 midfielder this season thus far, and it'll be interesting to see, with all the changes, what happens in this game week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and even moving into the next game week this weekend. Now, Ericsson hosting Man City, was in form. There's been a little bit of a break, a little bit of a lull in the game week, or in terms of the frequency of game weeks. So it'll be interesting to see if he can still stay and pick up, maybe a goal or assist moving into this game against City. But it'll be interesting to see. I'll have my eye on him. And again, that price range, very interchangeable with the likes of Marialis, Lallana. There's a lot of choices, and that's why I'm going for that differential. So it's very easy that if someone's not hitting their form, or if they get an injury, it's just a direct swap, and in goes another player. Aguero and Suarez are very self-explanatory. If you don't have them in your team, really, what are you doing? You gotta have either one of them or both of them, probably both of them, if you want to be, getting those points. So really, the only question between those two is, who are you going to give the armband? Now, I'm giving it to Suarez simply because Everton are injury-ridden right now, and that's going to yield a lot of points, especially in this this game, because, man, I tell you, these derbies are crazy. So, can only hope for a repeat performance, but we'll see. Now, I guess my third and last player or striker is Shamak, and basically, like I said, he's just someone who's getting 2 points a game. I think sometimes less, but even still, he's just getting minutes. So if you do happen to catch, him scoring, great. If not, as long as I'm getting that 2, that's really that all matters with my bench. Really, yeah, that's my wild card. And now it could switch tomorrow. That's depending on the team sheets that'll be released an hour before game time. So if you are on your wild card, do pay attention, because you can easily find out if someone's playing or not playing and then adjust your team accordingly. So that's all I have for this week. I appreciate you watching as always. More in the link below on my site, so check that out if you can, please. Leave your comments, suggestions. If you want me to rate your team, leave it below. I'm always, on here so I can take a look at your team, tell you what I think, maybe where some adjustments are, and that will probably be a new segment as suggested by a friend of mine who I currently have a bet. The bet is still ongoing because we decided to move it to this game week. The bet is 1 pint and 1 shot, and total point winner takes it all. So we'll see what the Feather Rufflers, who is on their wild card, has in store, and we will go from there. So to everyone watching, I'll see you next game week. Not this coming game week, because it's going to be on the weekend. It's going to be too quick to get a video out and a post. So basically this will have to tide you over until next Thursday. I do appreciate your patience, and I'll wish you good luck twice, because there will be 2 game weeks, and I will see you next Thursday.